Welcome to episode 3, part 2, season 1 of ChessWhiz Arcade. We're working on a game called Uprising, and in the first part of this episode we added enemy pieces promoting from pawn up to bishop, up to rook, etc. And that's not really the way chess pieces promote. They just promote once, but in Uprising they just keep promoting till you capture them. So let me show you what we've got so far. This is the game right now, Uprising, and the enemy pawn is going to turn into a bishop. Bam! It's a bishop, and then bam, it's a rook. That's the new feature that we added in the first episode. Plus, we add a lot of stuff behind the scenes to kind of make all this possible. We had to track the timing manager of the game in order to track how old all these guys are. So now that that's done, the next goal here, let's go back to full screen. The next goal to this game is to add levels to the game. Because right now, you just play forever, capturing this one thing over and over. Not that exciting. We're going to make it level up, level up, level up. And then I think after that, if we have time, we're going to add a cool messaging system to the game. It's kind of a graphical side of it, just because I think we'll need that in order to make the game look cooler for some of the other aspects we're adding. Like game over. I mean, oh no, you lose. It needs to actually say somewhere that the game is over. And that's not currently possible right now, not in any pretty sort of fashion. If you're watching on YouTube, by the way, the YouTube recording, I highly recommend the option in the lower right, which is over here. There's like a gear thing, and if you click on that, there's a playback speed. You can change it to 1 1/4 or even 1.5 times playback so that my talking is really, really fast. I know I'm really not talking fast, and if on YouTube, it's even faster. However, the coding happens faster that way. You can even do double speed if you're super, super bored. So then you can just slow down the video for the interesting parts of the programming, or even go in slow mode to see exactly how I'm programming it. But that'll save you some time because these videos get a little bit long, because programming is hard work. It takes a long time to make a little change, which is why programmers are paid so highly. But I am doing this programming for free for you. Now, the source code is not free right now. It's not available, and that's because I'm working hard on it and I consider it to be my own possession. But I am sharing the game with you for free at this moment. You can go online and play this game right now. Just browse to chesswiz.tv and hit the arcade link at the top of the screen. So you can play this game for free. And that's going to stay that way. I'm not going to charge to play this game. It's just that we don't know what's going to happen with the source code just yet. So let's make it levels. Let's make levels up. Here's my to-do list. Level ups with difficulty increases is under progress. I'm not going to manage game states until I have my text animation engine. So I'm going to put that here instead, because I want to be able to say, get ready, start, and game over, and that kind of stuff. And right now I can't say that, so I don't really know if I want to be managing that if I can't even tell the user that I'm managing it. So level ups happening now. One thing I forgot to do at the end of the previous part was checking all this good stuff. So adding mini promotion is what I did. That's going into my source control. And now we will add levels. This is exciting. I'm excited to add levels. Let's go to the world here. Don't need that. And say, we're currently on level 1. Awesome. That's all you have to do to set level to 1. That was so easy. Now what? That's the whole thing. Now we're on level 1. So how do we get to level 2? Is that all? Is that all there is to it? No. Every time we start the game over, which is reset, we're going to set level back to 1. This is actually never called except when the page is being refreshed. But let's keep this in here, because when we do start over the game without refreshing the web page, we're going to want to reset level to 1, etc. And do other reset-iful things, which aren't currently in our minds. Now we have level to 1. So how do you level up? You simply capture enough guys and you get to the next level. So captures until level up equals 3, and that's kind of bad coding to put a magic number there, so let's just actually set that to 0. Captures per level is 3, and captures increase per level is 1. So that means level 1 is you're gonna have to do 3 captures, and then level 2 you're gonna have to do 4 captures because they're increasing by 1, and level 5 you're gonna have to do level 5 you're gonna have to do 7 or 8 captures, whatever that is. Add those together. So now I can do this, which is way better. And all my globals are not in a namespace, so that's kind of bad. This is a super long variable name, so I'm thinking about naming it something shorter, but let's do that later. And of course, we're going to set this also in the reset function. So it's really not going to take much code to manage this. We'll say that every time we've made a capture, enemy is captured. Right here is where that happens. Let's do a function here. Type.enemy captured, because it's really bad to have complexity inside of complexity like this. So let's just say move this stuff out and say that.enemy captured, and let's pass that.enemies key to pass in the enemy that was captured. And let's also pass in the player that was captured, that did the capturing. Now let's move this code down into that function. So this is what it's going to do. It's going to say call captured on the player's passed in first and then the enemy. JavaScript is so loosely typed, you can just do stuff in any type you want. So we're going to say that the enemy.captured is called. And then we're going to splice. Oh, we can't splice very well anymore, can we? This is actually better to pass the index, because then if I like update score, no, it's not better. I think the splice should just be pulled out. The splice should happen up here, because splice is remove the. This is removing the enemy from the array. So obviously it's removed when it's captured. So we're going to have that happen always, and then we're also going to call enemy captured, which we'll call enemy dot captured, and it will call spawn to create a new bad guy. And so it's going to do three things. It's going to remove the enemy, it's going to spawn, and it's going to it's going to increase the captures until next level up minus minus. If captures until level up is less than or equal to 0, because you always have to check, what if it goes negative, it'll never get to 0. Then we just leveled up. Woot! And let's spawn again, which means every new level there's going to be another bad guy on the screen. So level 2 will have 2 bad guys on the screen at a time. Woot is an optional comment for sure. Now we need to set this captures until level up to be a formula, which is captures per level plus this dot level times capture increase per level. So it's going to be 3 plus let's do that before we increase the level. So 3 plus, let's say we're entering level 2, then 3 plus 1 times 1 is 1, so that's going to be 4 on level 2. And then we increase, and then we spawn. So I think this is all it's going to take to make level 2 be encountered. And let's actually say that level 1 you just capture 2 things, just so to make it quicker. Because 1, 2. Bam! There we are on level 2. Now 1 should take 3 captures to do this. 3. And now we're on level 3. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now there's 4 bad guys, so we're on level 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're on level 5. There's 5 bad guys. Guys, this is revolutionary. We went from boring, stupid game to all of a sudden this game is really hard and exciting, because capture that thing before it becomes a king, and I can't figure out how to do it. So when it becomes a king, you lose. So I guess that happened so fast that we can work on that next. Look at that. Look at that. Level ups with difficulty increases are done already. That was fast, guys. Programming with no bugs is so fast. There were no bugs in that program, and so it was really fast. So after it becomes a king, it just disappears off the board. which is not what it should do. So I lost there about level 5. That's an exciting game. Now, I think it's a little bit too fast. So let's turn this to 140. I think it's a little hard. I mean, because I'm a pretty good player when it comes to moving chess knights around. And I lost in level 5, so I should be able to get further than that. So that slows that down a little. Also, it should be 3 captures per level instead of 2. No, I think maybe... How long should you really be on a level before it... See, I got to decide right now. Like, is level 1 just 2 captures and then you go to level 2? Maybe. Yeah, because, I mean, level 1 is not exciting. It's going to double in difficulty when it goes from 1 to 2 because there's 2 pieces instead of 1. So it might as well happen quickly. So maybe 2 is okay. And then it's going to increase in difficulty gradually. And if you're awesome, you'll get really far. So actually, I'm going to let this be 150. This could also... 140. This could also decrease and decrease as the level gets higher, which would mean that the pieces promote quicker and quicker and quicker, which would become stressful enough. But because there's more and more pieces, I don't think we necessarily need quicker and quicker promotions as well, because it's already ramping up in difficulty. So, to-do list, that is now done. Next, let's detect a lose condition, which is one of the pieces became a king. So that is going to be... See how I call enemies.loop? Loop through all the enemies and call loop. This like update all of the enemies. I think that loop is going to return true if you lose, which is pretty arbitrary, but how is the piece going to say, hey man, I'm a king. You're out, right? So we might as well do it there. So this game, by the way, guys, this game just transformed. It took me hours. By the way, you can see how many hours it took because I've been streaming basically about 2.25 hours for episode 1, 2 hours for episode 2. This is episode 3, and we're like an hour and a half in. So that's like 5 or 6 hours, and we already have this game. It's just so fun to play already. I'm sure you guys are just itching to play it. So it's real. Programming is weird like that. We spend so much time laying the groundwork for what you're building, and then just a few lines of code turns it into bam. It's like almost done in no time. So it's just part of the trade. Anyway, we're going to add the you lose because that's an important part of the game. I'm going to say that when loop returns true, you're out, you're dead. So that.loop equals function, and then I'll say return. I better put a comment here that just says I just lost the game. If you don't know what I mean, look up the game on Wikipedia. Hope you guys all suffer from that. Okay, so this is calling promote. If this that.type is equal to piece type dot king, I should probably say is equal to the last element in the array. You know, the enemy promotion type, say the king is the last one, but I think I'll just say that when you're a king, it's over. Because that's like the same thing. So why do I need to look up the array when obviously this is the way the game works? So if you're a king, then you should just return true. No, you shouldn't. Yeah, you should. You should just return true. So that's actually going to work. It's going to return true from promote. This is not a good way to communicate between functions. Returning a Boolean from a random function, because promote is going to be returning true. So now we have to say if promote returns true, then we have to return true here. So just working on the comments here. Because the comments are an important part of this. If I come back and I'm like, why is this returning true? What does that even mean? The comment helps a lot. So promote returns true if it's promoted to a king. And loop returns true if you've promoted to a king. And I actually don't think you have to return false otherwise, because JavaScript is weird like that. In a real programming language, you would have to say, this function returns a Boolean. And then it would say, well, you're not returning anything. If it's not returning true, then you have to return false. But in JavaScript, you just program lazily, and it works. So I think there's no bugs going on right now. Everything's just working. So let's see what happens when it hits king. And when it hits king, it's going to return true. And of course, nothing happens because it ignores that return value. But now I can make it not nothing happen. Here's the not nothing. Ready? Let's write it in the debug text. Such an awesome programmer. I got my parentheses wrong, my curly braces, wrong quantity. There we go. So watch what happens when you lose. Bishop, is it a little slower now? Is it 140? Yeah, it's now 140, so we have to wait longer. We should crank up the difficulty just for the debugging. You lost, so stop playing 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And then also when it hits king, so obviously when you lose, we have to decide what's going to happen. Like the king could turn into a skull according to DV Razor. It could enlarge, skull could enlarge, or it could just become a king and enlarge. I think enlarging is a cool idea. In fact, I thought of that idea, but because I just love thinking about enlargements. But that's not what I meant to say, by the way. But it's not programmed to enlarge right now. So I guess we could just freeze the game. I think I need to manage the game state. Let's add score. You know, detect lose condition is done. We've detected the lose condition. So let's check this in and say detect lose condition is done. And it does say you lost, so stop playing, and that's now checked in. So let's add scoring to do next episode. I'm so good with that. Like, oh, okay, we're doing that now. Because I can actually put your score in that text box, and that'll let the viewers compete and score and say, I scored 1,000,000, and no one will believe you because there's really no way to prove that you did. And so we'll track the score and show it on screen. And we'll bump this down to 120 because we like a really hard game for now. So let's track the score and show it on the screen when you lose. Only when you lose. No, each player should have its own score, right? Or should the players have a combined score? Well, it depends. What if there's multiple players and they're working together? If they're competing, then score doesn't matter. Whoever loses, loses. And if they're working together, then they just have one score. So I'm going to say that the world just has one score as opposed to the players. No, each player is going to have their own score. It's way cooler that way. That means that when I'm resetting, you loop through all the players and call players p.reset to reset all the players. And so player.prototype.reset is going to do exactly this. It's going to set score back to 0. So important to get this resetting stuff in so that we don't get really confused when we forget it. So it's going to reset the scores to 0, and you're going to have scores of 0. Scores are currently 0. And of course, we can just use player 1's score right now since it's just a one-player game. OK, so score is 0. Now, how do you get points? Great question, ChessWhiz. How do you get points? By capturing things, duh. So there is a thing that says enemy captured, and there's already the player and the enemy. So I can actually just go here and say player.score plus equals 10. And I'm actually going to go to my globals here and there's log a built-in, I don't need Pandora right now, is log a built-in JavaScript function I'm going to call this thing log in all caps so it won't come apply. Function log, and then you're going to pass in a string message, and it's going to, I'm going to make this thing write to my debug text much better. So this is all debuggery, but it's just a faster way to write things to the screen. So now I can be like log, and it's going to log that. So when you capture something, it's going to tell you your score. Now this is not the way you should show scores in some random div off to the side, but it's going to work for now. Log player.score. So when an enemy's captured, it's going to log your score, and you're going to get 10 points, which is so arbitrary I can't even smile. And there's a bug. P in players. Where's my reset? This has to be this dot players. Of course, I've got half of this dot and half of that dot. So confusing. A log is not defined. Oh, needs to text message. Put the message in there. Okay, so I picked this up. I got 10 points. There it is. Bam, bam, bam. Look at that. Their score. 20 points. There it is. Now you should get more points if you're quick, right? But right now it's just 10 for everything. So, bam, you lost, so stop playing, and you can keep playing. Did you see that there? You lost, and you keep losing, and then you keep playing, so that's kind of disobedient, 60. So we're going to stop the game when you lose. And that's managing the game state. So this is super hacky to just say, oh, the first player's score is going to be printed right there. But it's all hacky right now because I don't have a messaging system for writing to the screen. Because I actually want to draw everything on the canvas and not put some random div there. So it's going to put your score here. Let's take this one out because it might be confusing. And I'm not going to say, so stop playing also. You lose. Game over. Oh, look how pro this is now. Game over. Final score, score. So now what happens? Now I need to make sure the game stops when you lose. And let's make the game be super hard. Every 1 second it levels up. So let's see if everything's working so far. I made a couple of changes. And it's super hard, as you can see. 10 points, 20 points. And now I'll just go ahead and lose, so I'll ignore that rook. It crashes. Players is not defined. Forgot to say this dot players. I thought I was getting better with this stuff, and I'm not. One more try. I'm going to leave that one down at the bottom because I just want to play this game. Bam! Game over. Final score 50. Now the problem is you're still allowed to capture things. So the game needs to stop when you lose. In fact, everything needs to stop. You need to stop being able to move around. Game over. Final score 90. It's lying. My final score was 50. But it was game over again. So I think I need to manage game state now. So look at that. I'm already managing score, tracking score, and showing it on screen. Now, I'm not showing it on screen very well, but I am no longer needing to track it. So let's add a card called track score, which is done. Oh, yeah. And show on screen is its own problem now. Show score on screen. And that's not going to happen yet because I don't have my text animation engine done. So now we need to think up, we'll just leave nothing in progress because we need to think up how many points you actually get for capturing things. It's going to be based on, it's going to be based on the age. If you capture a queen, well, good job, that was a big piece. But you took a long time to get there, which is why it was a queen. So that's not very many points for you. So you get the most points for a pawn. So then the next question is, you get the same amount of points for a young pawn as an old pawn? Like, or is it just like per tick, like one game frame, you're slower, you get less points? I think it should just be per piece type. Per piece type is reasonable. Because that's pretty, it's quantized, it's true, it's set up into boxes, but there's a lot of boxes. So let's just say if you get pawns, it's 1 point. If you get bishops, it's a different score. If you get rooks, it's another score. So what is that score going to be? Well, pawns are going to be the best, so they're going to be 100 points. And then bishops are next, so they're 90 points, and rooks are 80 points, and Queens are 50 points because you're so slow. It became a queen, so you need to not be capturing queens. Okay, that sounds reasonable. How do I program that? I think instead of array of pawn promotion types, I want a more robust object. I want an object that contains its own score. So I don't think you guys can see this. Sorry. I want an object that contains its own score. Can you see it now? Yes. So right now I just have an array. I have an array, and its value is that. So I'm gonna instead of it going to be like pawn is 5, right? So instead of being like the first element is 5, I'm like the first element is object, and the type is 5, and the score is 100. Okay, this is reasonable. This is totally reasonable. Now I can use my Alt key to draw that shape here, and I can use this. Do like that. Type equals, type colon, copy that, and alt, and all the stuff. Okay. Wow, that was so easy. If you capture a rook, it's 80 points. If you capture a queen, it is 50 points. Let's go 10, 90, 70, 50. Why not? It's pretty arbitrary. We'll change it later. And if you capture a king, you don't get any points. But the real truth is you can't capture a king, because as soon as it becomes a king, you lose. Now, it could be once this is working on server client architecture, you could be capturing a king due to latency, in which case you get no points. So, or you could get 50 points for a king. Yeah, let's get 50 points for a king, which is the same as a queen. I mean, you can't capture a king, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so now we've got scores. So now enemy promotion type is down here. We're indexing into the promotion index, and then we're getting the type out of that. That is setting the new type. And we also need to improve your score. So let's jump up to the world and be like, okay, there's been a capture. So instead of adding 10, we're going to add enemy promotion type enemy.promotionindex.score. Good point. Ruffalino in the chat, Raffinello says, now that you're doing scores, maybe you can add a high score list. For sure. Actually, what I've got in my to-dos is, look way over here, wish list, track the top scores, 1-player and 2-player games. The reason it's only in the wish list is you can't trust people to not cheat, because they could program something that submits bogus scores to the high score list. It's really easy to submit bogus scores. The only way to make sure they're not submitting bogus scores is to make sure they're playing the game, which means running the game on the server instead of inside the web browser, which means instead of having all this logic in JavaScript, you have a bunch of logic in C# on the server. C# because this is a .NET application, which I'm actually wanting to do eventually. As you can see here, 2-player network play. You can play against other people over the internet, but that's kind of a wish list sort of thing right now. But anyway, high score list will definitely go along with that. There's no point in doing a high score list right now because it's so easy to cheat. So that's the answer to that question. So now I'm increasing the score by the enemy promotions score. So, and that's happening before I call enemy captured, which means nothing. And then I log the score afterward, which is kind of funny because log is it hacks. So 90 points for that, 180 points for that. Why is the bishop invisible? Only the piece is visible. Let's save and try again. Okay, there we go. Everything's visible. I got 70 points for that. I got 160 now. So I'm going to try to get a pawn, which means go really quick. No, I'm going to lose. No, game over. Good thing I cheat. So Okay, so I got a pawn. 580. Let's go get another pawn. There's been a crash. Oh, if you get to type king and then you go beyond it. Pawns are 100. Bishops are 90. Rooks are... I can't catch a rook. No, 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 no. Get back here, king. No, I lose, and it crashes. So if it gets to the piece type after king, which it will do, 70. And let's just test the last one. Test the queen for 50 points. It should put me at 120. Great. So it gets to king, and that works. Actually, it keeps running, and then it gets to the piece after king, and it's like, I can't find anything after king in here, so it crashes. So now the game needs to stop when you lose. I have nothing to do. Is that in here? You lose animation. We don't have that. This is kind of game states. Yeah, that's what we're working on right now. I'm just pulling out of this stuff because we're free-flowing it right now. Bye, Pandora. Hello. ChessWhiz Arcade. So the game needs to stop as soon as something becomes a king. And so that you can't keep playing and so that it can't crash. So let's look at that update thing. Here it is. Something became a king. Game over. Final score, score. And then it needs to stop. So there needs to be a game state thing that's tracking the state of the game. And we will put in here. All capital letters for constants. So now I have an object called GameState. GameState.ready is 0, GameState.running is 1, GameState.gameover is 2. And obviously, if you lose this .state, why is it called GameState? Well, I don't know. Because obviously it's a game. It's not like, oh, that's a work state. No, it's just GameState. That .state. Starts out as ready, and if you ever call reset, then it's going to set it back to ready, and that has to be this now because I'm crazy. And then if you lose, then this dot state is equal to game state dot game over dot constructor dot game over. Okay, now game state is game over. Now I need to go to my loop and say, if state if you're running, then you'll do all of these things, which is loop through the players and update them, update all the enemies, and I'll paint the main canvas either way. Actually, I'll just keep painting. Either way. So see, I can keep drawing the screen even though the game logic isn't running. Now I want to move some of this out into its own function, like I have done here. That dot enemy captured, that kind of thing. I think some of this needs to be in a function too, but I don't want to think about that right now. Okay, the state is running. So how does the state become running? Well, we'll hack right now and just set it to running when you load the page. In the future, it'll be like press a key to start or click to start, but we'll just see if this works. Probably buggy. Game state is not defined. Yeah, it is. Don't be stupid. Save again. There we go. Works. Nothing works. Nothing works. Oh no, world.gamestate is. World.state. World is not defined. Okay. Okay. I won't let that stop me. I'll close all of these things. And then I'll find my world, which is right here, and I'll put a breakpoint in the loop. I know what's wrong. Stupid loop. I called it that. Oh, that's okay. It should be called that. I need more visibility in this thing. Bam. That is world. That dot state is 0. That obviously needs to be 1, so it's not set to running. That happened after I did reset. Did clock manager.start set it back? No. How did it get set back to 0? Because clearly, right here, world.state is 0, and then I step once, and then it's 1. But already, it's back to 0, as opposed to undefined. So let's look closely at the places where I set it to game state ready. Let's search the whole project for the word ready. There's way too many, but if we match case, we won't find so many. It's happening in the constructor, and it's happening in reset. So who's calling reset? Lots of things. Who's calling world.reset? The clock manager is calling reset. So that's the problem. The clock manager is resetting the world. I think that's a little rude. My conclusion is I need to... See, here's the problem. I'm setting it to running, and then I'm starting, and it's getting set back to ready. So those stupid bugs take the longest. Fortunately, this was only mildly stupid, so it only took a mild amount of time. I don't need to call reset here because clock manager resets it, and then I can set it to running right away. So now it will work again. Fixed my program. Yo. Now I cannot move still. Why is that? It's back to 0. I actually know why. This is obnoxious. So the truth is, clock manager should not call reset. Because reset sets the level to 1 and all this stuff that the clock manager starts. Clock manager's job is to keep track of the clock, not to reset everything. So now reset does need to be called. As you can see, look how great the game is without reset being called. It's just the clock manager doesn't need to call it, so world.reset, I'll just call it outside the clock manager. That way it happens right away. So how come I don't have a chessboard anymore? Wouldn't you think that's a little weird? Don't you think I deserve a chessboard, guys? Cool idea, Ruff and Nilo. How much of each piece was captured? So it did properly stop, actually, when I lost. But it's a lot harder without a chessboard. Game over, final score 0, and it stops properly. Everything stops. So the problem now, obviously, is that there's no chessboard on the screen. Why would there be no chessboard? Call reset first. So there must be something in the clock manager that... Who draws the chessboard? When is that happening? Because obviously they're not doing their job. Reset draws the chessboard. That's the problem. I don't think reset should draw the chessboard. What reset does is reset the state of the game back to the beginning. No enemies, level 1, do this many captures till you get to level 2. Your state is ready. I don't think it should change the state, actually. I don't think it should change the state. It should change the state separately and paint the board. So the board should be painted separately. Well, let's just paint the board once every time you reset. I mean, how bad is it to paint multiple times? So that fixes it, I think. Oh, there's still no board. Come on. Oh, world reset is firing before the assets are downloaded, which means before the board picture is downloaded. So I guess it does have to happen after start, because this waits for the assets to be downloaded and then it can reset. So now it's back to how it was. So dumb. I'm sure that's not the way I'm going to want it in the end. But I did fix it, as you can see. Not sure why a scroll bar appears there some of the time. Can't decide how big it should be. I think the div is throwing it off and making it say, I'm not sure if I should have a scroll bar. I don't really care. I'll fix that later because I'm not going to have a div later. It's going to be all canvas, yo. So it crashes or it stops playing. It doesn't crash, but when you get to a king, it stops. Gotcha. 70 points. I'm going to take a queen for 50 points. Now there's two bad guys. 50 points here. Take that just in time. Oh, yeah. Oh, three bad guys now. Okay, I'm going to play for reals. Doing pretty good. More points for capturing young things, but game over. And it freezes everything, as you can see. It freezes the knight there. But I think that's okay. It's like, oh, here's where you were, and you failed in that spot. So I don't mind that. You have to refresh the page with F5, though, to get a new game going, because it just stops everything. Uh-oh, corners are so bad. Oh, I lost over there. So when a piece appears in the corner, it is painful because there's only two entrances to the location, and they both are kind of, it's hard to see where to go from here. It's just really hard to reach the corner. I'm just going to draw scribbly angriness. Whereas from this location, like one off, you have three spots you can go to. X's and O's are inverted on the left. That's just fine. So what I'm actually going to do is disallow corners from spawn locations, because that's so unfair and unlucky when you spawn an enemy in the corner. Can't spawn where a player is, can't spawn where a player can move, can't spawn where a piece is. If I is equal to 0 and j is equal to 0. Or, it's hard to write or I is equal to board size minus 1. Board size x, is I x? Yeah. Board size x minus 1, and j is equal to 0. Or I is 0 and j is board size y. Or I is board size x and j is board size y. Minus 1. I have to do minus 1s, which is dumb, because board size is 8, but I is actually going to be 7. So this is really error prone. So I'll have to eyeball it carefully since I have no testing. There's no unit tests to this algorithm. And it's not okay to put the piece there. Can't spawn in corners. If I is 0 and j is 0, or I board size x minus 1, j is 0, or I is 0 and j is board size y minus 1, or I is board size x minus y minus 1, then okay is false. Okay, so that's going to make it so you can't spawn in corners. Great, that'll help, because corners are just so cruel. So we're not going to do that to the players. That's done. Maybe you should give a ton of pieces for ton of points. Comment in chat, maybe you should give a ton of points for capturing in the corner. Yeah, I think it's really, if you lose from something appearing in the corner, you're not going to be like, well, at least I would have gotten a lot of points, because you get way more points by not losing. So that's a good idea, but I don't think I want to do it. So no offense to you for thinking of the idea. So this game works great now. What we just did was add a game over state, and game over, final score 590. So now the game is way too hard, so we will adjust enemy promotion takes back to 120. And actually just say captures for level 1 is 1, which means as soon as you catch one thing, then you get to go to 2. which means you level up way faster. I think that's reasonable. Nobody wants to play on level 1 for very long. So we'll just leave that the way it is. We can change it later to say, oh, it goes 1, 3, 5, 7, or it goes 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 6, 6. I'm not sure. It needs some testing. So what were we just working on? Manage game states. That's kind of done. Not really. I mean, game over, and then what happens? It just frozen forever. It never goes back to ready. But it's managed, so I'll put that in done for now. Text animation index is a big deal. We're going to say that's not done because it's just in a div. It should be bladed in a cool way using the text animation index, which engine, which doesn't exist. Sound doesn't exist. Smoother animations doesn't exist. Promotion progress bars, that's a cool idea. You lose animation. Move code into a namespace to better communication and touchscreen support. So the next thing to do is build a text animation engine so that it'll say, get ready, go, and you know, level 2, level 3, and it'll be like, whoa, you're in level 5, because right now it doesn't even tell you what level you're on, that kind of stuff. So that would be a nice feature. But this is a great stopping point because I'm not exactly sure how I want to implement some of that stuff yet. The text animation engine I could start on now, and I'm really tempted to do that. I'm really tempted to do that. So let me take a 5-minute break and then go to part 3, text animation index. What I'm going to do for you guys before I do that, though, is check all this in and say added game states and EU and game over management. And I'm going to publish this now to ChessWhiz TV, and I'm going to take out the news, by the way, from the front page. This is all flat, you can see now. It's a flat file that's like the latest news for the website. See? Now there is no latest news on the website. There's just 2 horizontal lines, so let's take that out as well. Why are there 2 horizontal lines? Somehow it's not I don't know where the other one is, but I'll take this one out. Oh, I know why. Yeah, I'll just take that out for now. Okay, I'm taking away the latest news because I'm not sure what's happening in the next episode. News. I'll add it back soon enough with the news, but there's no news right now. And I should keep the news in a database and have a great CMS for updating that, but I don't. That's all right. So I'm going to publish this now. Publishing. So you can now browse to chesswiz.tv, http://chesswiz.tv. Be sure to put the H in Wiz. That's the URL there. And as soon as this is done publishing here, which now it is, we refresh that, spinning up a new instance of the server because I want shared hosting, and that's gone. Arcade, play now, and you can now play this game with bishops, with pieces that grow and score and all these things. So while I'm taking a short break, you guys can play this. Tell me what your top scores are, whatever you want to do. I'm going to make a little longer break so you have time to play it. And then I'll come back and add the text animation engine. So let's make it a longer break. Let's make it a 10-minute break because my voice is getting hoarse. Let's make it a 500,000 millisecond break, which is that long. All right, this has been ChessWhiz Arcade, Season 1, Episode 3, Part 2. I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching.